Hello everyone, I'm Kevin Fink. Welcome into my kitchen. This is the kitchen of Hestia and Kalimocho. We cook all over live fire. We're going to make something really special today that has to do with lactic acid, acetic acid, and citric acid. So we're going to talk about the difference between all of the different elements of acid, how they affect our food, and why we use them differently. Where food and science intersect is really in every single element. Because the simple fact of cooking is elements of science interacting with how we eat. One of my personal favorite elements and interactions of that is acid. Acid at its whole and start is simply that something that is low on the pH scale as opposed to something that is alkaline going higher. But on our palate, it's something that we perceive as lighter and brighter and sharper and more refreshing. In our kitchens, we cook with 4 or 5 different elements of acid, but the 3 main ones are citric acid, lemons, oranges, limes, grapefruit, lactic acid, so lactobacilli, which we know of, fermented sauerkraut. Here, this is a fermented kohlrabi. This is a brine of lactic jalapeno, which we're going to use in our dish here. It gets down to about 2.9 on the pH. This is actually shiitake brine that we've lactically fermented under brine shiitake mushrooms at 5%. And then here, 2 separate acetic acid compounds, which, much more commonly known as vinegar. So this is a pine vinegar that will actually use the fresh cones as well as some of the shoots to make this. Here we made Yopon wine with lemon, and then allowed that to get to a higher Brix, and then we turn that alcohol into acetic acid. So the compounds here that will convert alcohol into acetic acid, as opposed to lactobacilli, are processing the natural occurring compounds into their form of acid, as opposed to citric acid, which is sitting and is present in fresh citrus and different food. So I think for me, inspiring my child in how to become a lifelong learner and how to eat well is the first thing. And I think so much of this in our human condition is about vulnerability. And I think that if you become vulnerable and you're ashamed and shut down, then it takes you a while to get back into it. But recognizing that there are massive moments of our life where we felt foolish, and from that feeling foolish really shut down. And I think food does that for people, dressing does that for people, I think new experience or learning a language does that for people. But having the ability to challenge the status quo and feel good in that is also a learned training. And I think the pursuit of learning is giving yourself this permission to fail, giving yourself this permission to look foolish, giving yourself the ability to go along that path. And food is an exact example. You're not always going to cook something the right way. You're not always going to love something. You're not always going to impress the mother. But when you're going down this journey, recognizing that failure is a part of being great is a really important aspect that you have to go into any journey with. So here we are. So halibut just lightly cooked over the open fire. We have a little bit of citric acid in our broth here, acetic acid, lactic acid, creamer peas, grilled long beans, fresh sunflowers and okra. We broke it with Jimmy Nardella oil, a little bit of olive oil. It'll be served to all 400 of you right now. I'm just joking. Thank you so much. I'm going to enjoy this right now. I hope that you had a really wonderful evening. I know how much I crave going to the Thinkery with my son, teaching him and showing him how to learn, and I cannot wait to go back. In the meantime, thank you for being a part of this. I'm going to kick it back to the Antonellis, 2 of my absolute favorite Austinites, who welcomed my wife and I with warm, open arms when we came into town here. And I'm sure they're going to show you an amazing recipe.